Hi, I'm Eddie of Eddie's Reef of Korea. Today's video is just a general video, like an update, shall we call it, of this Nuvo 40. Previously, if you follow me and you see the previous weeks, I've been talking about different topics, maintenance, the new corals acquisition. But today I say, hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and shoot a general video, like an update of what's going on with different corals, how they're responding to the food I'm putting, changes, moving around corals and all that. So let's take a deep dive and check it out. Hold on. Okay, concentrating on this section of the tank. If you follow me and you've noticed the acans, which I have them now over here, they were back there. What happened is, on another video that I've done way back, how reef evolves, is how even on the out there on the ocean, reefs tend to change. Corals overpower another coral, one dies, one survives. Different species of fish are introduced to that area, some are gone, and on and on. Well, here in captivity, the same thing happens. So, like, if you follow me for a long time, you've noticed that when I always shoot the full tank shot, sometimes you're going to see that, hey, wait a minute, Eddie has changed things. I've moved the coral to the side, I moved them here, up or down, and this is one of those type of situations where the acan, I had it, since way back, I had it back there. If, as a reference point, if you look at that gorgonian, it was on the back. Now, what happened, what I was noticing is it kind of like closed and it wouldn't open too much. So I kept an eye on it and all that, and my parameters are in check. Everything's great. As a matter of fact, when I changed from the Red Sea Pro to the Tropic Marine Pro, corals are doing much better. But I did notice that it wouldn't open. So what did I do? Which is the school of thought, and from many years doing this, things that I've picked up along the way. If you see that a behavior of a coral changes, now not for the better but for the worse. What I mean by this is not opening, is changing colors or something, then something is drastically wrong and your parameters are in check. So if that's the case, something's wrong. It might be the light, too much light or not enough, or the water current. So in this case, I noticed that all of a sudden it started to actually like close. It wouldn't open. So what did I do? The school of thought in this hobby for many years is you go ahead and you move the coral around. So what I did is I moved it right over here, if you notice, right there. Now I'm going to shoot a close-up shot of it, and now it's starting to open, it's happier, and it's flourishing all over again. Now that doesn't mean that it's going to stay there. I'll probably go ahead and move it to another place, and yet I might leave it there. But as far as it's concerned right now, as of today, it's doing great there. And here I'm focused at the acan, closer shot as I mentioned. And as you notice, it has, well, I'm pretty sure you probably didn't see it that it was kind of closed, but now it's opening and it's flourished. I went ahead and I moved the camera and I opened the aperture, the exposure on it, because as you must be aware, because of the cyanobacteria that I had to lower the lights. Now I'm in the process of raising them, and I have one more raise of lights, one more 5% this Friday, and then it'll be a done deal. So I had to go ahead and open the aperture. But this is what we're talking about. This is how it actually looks now. It's happy there. It's doing great. Now here, I'm focused at the gorgonium, the non-photosynthetic. What you're experiencing, what you're noticing is I just fed the tank with Reefroids by Polylab. So now, like in the morning when I go ahead and the lights start to ramp up, this type of coral, you'll just see, you won't see those white polyps opened up to actually feed. But once you feed the reef, or you target feed, you really don't need to target feed. You can just do the broadcast feeding. But when you start to feed the reef, all these polyps on these gorgonias, they start to open up and open up, which is what you're witnessing. Matter of fact, when before I fed the reef, they were all like the yellow, orange color, shall we call it. But now they're starting to open up because they know, hey, wait a minute, there's food here. So let me go ahead and consume it. So that's what you're witnessing as we speak. The polyps starting to open and open on all the branches to acquire the reefroids that I introduced about a half an hour ago. Now from here, panning towards the left, as you're already noticing, I'm going to target, let's say, these other corals here. Now, if you see this, I'm going to shoot a close-up shot, but you'll notice that the agani keeps opening, and I mean, the polyps are starting to extend further. And then the candy cane on the back still is in the process of splitting. Now, down here, this brain coral, Favida or Favites, shall we call it, it was the best decision that I did to put it on the substrate, because now it's flourishing more, it's opening more, it's getting more bigger as we speak. So now I'm going to shoot a close-up of the agani and then also of the candy cane. Okay, and then back there, as you notice, the candy cane, you can see that it's actually splitting not only the front polyp, but the other polyp on the back. So I'm going to have 4 candy cane polyps. Okay, now here in this section, the same effect, the effect that I gave with the other photosynthetic gorgonia behind the lobo. But then on the top, the zoos, they have multiplied exponentially. Let me get a close-up shot. Here you go. They have, I mean, they were like 3 polyps when I got them, and there's about, I'd say, about 9 or 10 polyps, and it keeps growing and growing. My plan on that section is to actually add more on that section there, to add more zoos of different species and of different colors. Now if you move yourself, if you go up here, okay, now here I did a change. That you see back there, that okay, that rock was the one that was coming out from the side. That rock is not glued. So what I did is I just moved around and I placed it there to give it like a different effect. On that rock, I'll probably add like different types of species of coral and give it a different effect. The pavona that you see there, that one right, the pavona, that's not the same pavona that I had. The original pavona that I did a video on it and talked about it, that one I actually lost because of the lights going down so much to only 4% of the red, green, and the whites. It must have done an effect, and it turned pale white, and that's it. This is another frag of a pavona, the same species, but another frag, and then I placed it there, but not as high as before, and my lights are safely higher, that it would actually consume the actual lights that it actually needs. This coral you see here, man, it keeps growing and growing and expanding and expanding. And of course, here we have the Cineraria or Nephthia. It keeps growing. It's elongating and elongating as it goes along. It hasn't shot any new, shall we call it, any new fingers, but the ones there that you see, I mean branches, it keeps growing and growing. Now up here, let me move this a little down. There you go. So we get these 4 corals in one shot. Okay, the Monty cap, the encrusting Monty, the little red one on the upper left hand corner, It's doing great. You know, it's not glued. I'm observing it, so when it starts to branch out, then I'll see where I'm actually going to place it. Because remember, these corals, they tend to branch out and will actually cause shade on the remaining of the reef. So I have to be keeping an eye on it. And then the spongotis, as you've noticed, is turning more greener. Like I've said on previous videos, it's encrusting on the actual plug. It's doing great. And then the frog span, I believe it might be the phyto feast, or that it's actually acclimated more. But man, if you look at it now, it's actually opening more. It's open more. Of course, opening more, what's happening is it's catching the current of the MP10 on the opposite side. So now, if you look at it closely, it's got a little more type of wave action, shall we call it. And then the stylo on the bottom, that's doing great. There's little heads that I thought it was that the heads were like dilated. No, it's actually creating like a V shape. They're in the process of, you know, like branching out, but that'll take a while. Now moving down, these zoos, they really haven't done too much. They're still at 3 polyps. Although I've heard that some of these zoos, it will take a long time for them to start to multiply. But at least this one hasn't done anything. It's just there. And of course, the Recordias, well, they're officially split, as you see here. And then here we have a side shot of the tank, or in other words, the right side shot of the tank. There you can see the MP10 way out there, and this is what it looks, more or less for now. Eventually, I'll have other corals that I'll get and populate on this section. Okay, there you go. Well, there it is. I hope you enjoyed this video, found it fun, educational. Like I said before, it was just update of the actual tank, things that are moving around, going around. And as you recall, if you follow me from previous videos, one that I did, how reef evolve. Reefs, you know, like in this case, in captivity, in an aquarium, corals die, corals grow. In my case, like if you follow me, you'll note that I don't glue most of my corals. So if I see a situation that it needs more light or less light, or more current or less, I go ahead and I move the corals around. So I hope you enjoyed this video. So like I say at the end of all of my videos, happy reefing. I hope you enjoyed it, and keep safe.